awesome guest, fellow broadcaster, and join us for Q&A as well. And we'll be back here shortly. Alright, and we're back. So thanks to my sponsors. I want to give them a shout out. I have two sponsors. JD Hill, he's the one that made the intro, by the way. Studio 6, Paranormal Entertainment, and the top man, Brian J. Laverty from Parent Post. So welcome, Tim.
Thank you. It's cool open.
My God, I'm still stoked that you're here with us tonight. Boom.
Well, it's my pleasure. Yeah, that was a cool open. Good job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So so talk to my head. So what inspired you to be a radio host? You know, my series.
Radio host. Where do I begin? Well, what would you like to know about the whole radio host thing? About what it's like to be? How long? Clarify for me.
Sure. Start from the beginning. Like what? Like sparked your interest?
What sparked my interest in it? Oh, sure. Okay, so I'm a second generation radio guy. It was actually my Uncle Bob who's been on the. I know this sounds so bad. My Uncle Bob has been on the program, Bob Dennis. I've had him on actually in the over the last year. He's been on radio since Moses was in short pants.
Oh, wow.
And he was actually my inspiration. He was working at a radio station in Rochester, Minnesota by the name of KROC. And it was during Thanksgiving one year, and his wife at the time was making Thanksgiving dinner, and things weren't quite ready on time. And so I think he was trying to stall us. So he said, who wants to go see the radio station? And I did. I was very, very excited because I was very into radio. And up until that time, as a small child, I thought that people lived inside the radio and that's how we got our sound. Turns out that wasn't it at all.
Right.
So I wanted to see how it actually worked. So, the rest of my family, I think, was just kind of, we don't really want to see what's going on there. We don't really care. I was the most excited out of everybody. So we got to the station, and as we got there, I see two guys who are throwing these things called carts, which look like 8-track tapes. And they're juggling them back and forth. It looked like a circus act. It was very cool. But then Bob is showing me all these different things and the way that the radio station works and how much fun these guys are having. That was the thing that just amazed me, how much fun radio was. And I said to myself, if I never play football, and I never did, as professionally, if I never play football professionally, this is what I want to do because this is how fun everything is. It just seemed to me to, how do you get paid to have this much fun? So I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. And, little Tim went from, thinking that's what I'm going to do to actually doing it. It just always stuck with me. That's got to be the thing that I want to do.
Right. So actually in the blood to actually do radio, right?
Yeah. Well, and essentially from there, it was, in high school, we didn't have a radio program in high school. So I did newspaper, which was the closest thing to it. And then when it was time for college, I thought, I have to find a college that excels in a radio program. So that's the first thing I looked for. So I went to Winona State University in Minnesota, which had an excellent radio and television program. Unfortunately, I ran out of money. So I finished up at Brown College, or it was called Brown College for a while. It was Brown. It's not the famous Brown College, but it was Brown University or Brown State or whatever you want to call it over there in Minneapolis. But the Brown radio program was renowned for training radio professionals throughout the country. So that's where I ended up going, was Brown Institute is what they called it. It sounds like it houses mental patients, I know, but and we all were mental patients at the time. But yeah, I went to Brown Institute in Minneapolis and finished up there and got my associates, and then I hit the road, and I spoke to every cornfield and pig farmer in the Midwest for quite a while, and then made it back to the Twin Cities and worked in Twin Cities radio up through the early 2000s, and that's when Dave knocked on my door and asked if I wanted to do a paranormal show. So
Right, and you also do Darkness Radio with Seven Number. I've been a youth fan for a long time.
oh, thank you.
That's why I'm
Thank
so stoked that you're here with us tonight.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. And, Darkness Radio seems like it's been going forever, too. I mean, 2006 is when the show first started, January
Oh,
1st,
wow.
2006.
Yeah,
It's been very rewarding, very fulfilling.
I feel old now.
No. You feel old. You feel ancient. But it's one of the most rewarding projects of my entire life. And one of those projects that when you look back on it, I mean, it started, and I think a lot of people misunderstood when things happened a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. They thought, well, this isn't Tim's passion project. This isn't, why would Tim take the show over? I think a lot of people didn't realize
Right.
what a passion I had for the paranormal, and the fact that I'd been having paranormal experiences since I was young.
Speaking of which, do you mind sharing a few?
Sure. I mean, I think on the show I've shared plenty about the one experience that had happened to me when I was young, but there's been plenty. I mean, when I was very, very young, the one thing that used to astound my mom was I used to be able to tell her who was at the door or who was calling on the telephone before they even knew. I mean, I could say the phone would ring and I'd say, "Mom, it's Aunt Lorraine on the phone." And she would say, "Well, okay." And I'd say, "Well, go pick it up," just to see if she would pick it up and know that it was my Aunt Lorraine. I wanted to test her to see if she would know exactly who it was. And sure enough, it was Aunt Lorraine,
Oh,
and I
wow.
used to get a kick out of saying, being right about that. I didn't know what you called it at the time. And mind you, I was a huge fan of In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of cool. My mom would call it ESP, I guess, because that was the only,
Right. So we all have that, I think.
yeah, I think we all have that. Yeah. But there were little things, little idiosyncrasies in there. Someone would ring the doorbell and I'd think, oh, okay, that's probably my friend Steve, although he had not called me from up the block to say he was coming over. Sure enough, there's Steve at the door. And we didn't have Ring cameras back in the 70s,
Right.
so it's not like I could look at the Ring camera and figure it out. But I've had quite a few dream visitations too. Dream visitations,
I love those.
yeah, they intrigue me. They really do. And I know a lot of people are quick to discount dream visitations.
Right.
But I really do believe in them, especially the more vivid, the better. The one that I don't talk a lot about actually happened to me when I was working radio in Minneapolis. And I have a good friend who, his name is John. And John was the guy who really was behind Metro Traffic Control. And he ended up doing the morning show with his wife at KLBB, the station that the last station I ended up managing in Minneapolis. And John, he really died in a sad way. I guess.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry he did too, because John and his wife really had a classic love affair, if you can say that with a husband and a wife. The fact that they could go to work together and they could do a morning show together, and they were incredibly happy. But John had the old-fashioned stomach stapling, and one of those where you really had to watch what you ate. But John loved food. So, I mean, the thing that you end up loving the most ends up killing you. Have you ever heard that saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny you say that because I think I'm allergic to food because every time I eat, I like sneeze like 5 minutes.
Right. Right. So John, the way it worked out was, we used to have a booth at the Minnesota State Fair. We were right there on the Midway, and John would have this habit on the Midway. I'm getting a little off track, but I'm setting up where I'm about
Oh,
to
no
go.
worries.
So when we would do our 10 days at the Minnesota State Fair on the Midway, John's favorite thing was cheese curds, a big boat of cheese curds. I'm talking, big solid boat overflowing with cheese curds, which is bad. It's battered cheese. Worst thing someone with a,
Make me hungry. I'm eating it.
And then a tall cup of root beer. I mean, we're talking the homemade root beer, right? Two of the worst things you can have when you've had your stomach stapled. And John would wolf it down, and then he would pass out like that. I mean, he'd eat it and then, right? He's out.
Oh, man.
Well, it's because his stomach couldn't take it and his system couldn't take it. That sets up the next part. The other thing that's dangerous about that is it can come right back up and you can aspirate. Okay. So John and his wife were fundraising at the time for TPT, which is Twin Cities Public Television, which was another passion of theirs. They go to TPT to fundraise, and that night there was a meteor shower. And John loved watching meteor showers. He goes to the window, and they had cats. They had a bunch of different cats he absolutely loved. So his wife says, well, I'm going to go to bed. I'm a little tired, honey, from fundraising. And so he says, oh, that's okay. I'm going to sit up and watch the meteor shower with the cats. Well, John liked his little midnight snacks too. So he goes to the fridge, he heats up some fish sticks and tartar sauce, shares a little with the kitties. He has some fish sticks and some tartar sauce, and he washes it down with a little soda, lays down on the couch. He aspirates on the fish sticks and passes away.
Oh, man.
Now, keep in mind, John had just beat a major infection. Like, they used the second to the last known antibiotic in the hospital. John barely lived, but died a couple of weeks later, aspirating on fish sticks and tartar sauce. I mean, this was just tragic stuff, right?
It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, poetically tragic. So we had a psychic on the show in the early days. In fact, I had just got an email a couple weeks ago from a listener who said, you really should have Bob Baca on the show, Robert Baca from Iowa, a psychic. Well, we had Bob on in the early days. I love Bob Baca, very accurate psychic. And Dave and I are sitting in the studio. We're talking with Bob Baca, and Bob says, we're sitting side by side, kind of like you and I are right now, okay, in this frame. And in front of us, there's a blue framed window, and we're sitting at the board at the production room in KLBB. And Bob says, there's someone with you there that used to work with Tim. I said, really? He goes, yeah. And he starts describing about this guy who's there, and he's very happy, very jovial, gives me a name with a J. That's what he says. And he says, yeah, he says the way he died was a mistake. He was just, slave to his passions. I went, oh, okay. And I'm trying to play it cool and not give him any more. He says, well, there's a message he wants to pass on to his wife. I said, okay. He said, yeah, he said that she's missing a ring. She looks behind the dresser, right down by the vent, right down by there. She's just got to move the vent slightly. It's down in the vent. That's where the ring is.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, but it's been there the entire time. And then he says, she's not going to believe you when you tell her this. So give her this nickname. And he gave me a specific nickname to give her. Now, his wife doesn't believe in psychics. In fact, she's a very Christian woman and works at a Christian radio station.
Right, there are a lot of skeptics that don't believe in us.
Yeah. So I give her a call and I say, honey, I don't know how to tell this to you, but I've got this new show I'm working on, and this, that, and the other. And John came through via a psychic. And it's kind of quiet on the other end of the phone. And I said, John came through and he said to call you this nickname. And she almost dropped the phone. And I said, and your ring is here. And then I gave her the name of a couple of her grandchildren just to, verify, which I didn't know the name of their grandchildren. I had no idea, even in the years I worked with both of them. And then I said, I got to let you go, but go look for the ring. Tell me if it's there. Call me back and let me know if he's accurate. Would you do that for me? She said, sure. She looked and she said, oh my God, Tim, not only was it there, but right next to the dresser, there's a little statue of an angel that I keep there. And I could have
I
sworn,
got goosebumps.
yeah, and I could have swore it was John that was looking over that the entire time. So I said, that's great, hon. That's really great.
Wow.
No sooner do I walk her through that and she finds a ring, but the next night I have a dream visitation and it's John. And it's just him thanking me for getting the message across. But it was just the weirdest dream. It was this vivid dream of, I'm like walking along a roadside and there's grass and it's like this electric green. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hey.
It's this electric green and it doesn't feel real, but it's very vivid, and he pulls up in like this, it's like a cherry red convertible, and he stops and he opens the door and he says, hey kid, hop in. I was like, okay. So I hop in and he says, I really appreciate you telling her everything you had to tell her, but I got one more message for her. And he hands me a Post-it note and he gives me, it's a very private message I can't tell on the air, but I gave her that additional message. And she took that message. It was one more thing she had to find, and she found it. But she was really freaked out about it. So we spoke very little in the years since then. But it's not that she hates me or anything like that. I think she was just weirded out by it,
Right. Yeah.
Again, she's a very Christian woman. But yeah, I loved them. I still love them both to death, but it was just after that one little visitation from John, I felt so much better about things, and I didn't want to freak her out. I didn't want to freak John's wife out, but I'm afraid I did. That's one of those things that, when people are in different places in life, you're almost afraid to tell them. You feel obligated, but you know.
And that's the same way when you do readings on the air. But I prefer to do private readings because you can't say certain things on the air.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I've had different experiences like that are really cool. But
oh yeah.
But sometimes they're fit for public consumption and sometimes they're not. I've had a lot of experiences that I don't feel like they're fit for public consumption, so I don't talk about them.
Right. Yeah, I have some of those type of dreams as well. In fact, one I remember my grandfather visited me, and I didn't even know he passed. And so I told my stepmother, and she's like, I think she got freaked out because she already talks to me now.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, sure enough, yep, he passed. Like, okay. I just want that closure,
Yeah.
I didn't want to freak her out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a lot of what it is. It's, wanting someone to have that little bit of closure, but then, that can be a double-edged sword too. Sometimes people don't get that closure. Sometimes they want to know more. And with me, I'm not that person. I'm not the one to give them that closure. I just happen to have a dream,
Yeah, I have quite a few of those. Even my late husband, and mostly my late husband and my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Not my father yet. He passed in 2018.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He had brain cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt bad for not being there, but yeah, I know he's in a better place.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Yeah. It's a mixed bag. You know, I've had the main experiences I've had have been dream visitations. So I've had quite a few of them.
Mm.
You know, mainly with relatives and like with John with the odd friend, I've had a dream visitation. I don't. I won't say I look forward to them, but they're interesting when they happen. So
Right, and the same with premonitions. Mostly good or bad. Mine is mostly bad news, but yeah.
they're mostly bad news, really.
Yeah, it's like death premonitions. I would see that.
Really? Okay, now this is
Yeah,
fascinating.
it
I gotta.
freaks me out.
Yeah. Now what? Okay, what do you see when you see someone's death premonition? Is it the same
And
thing every time?
it's different every time. For example, I had a dream about someone like flying across the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're being chased, let's say from the police, right? They're being chased, all of a sudden they drown in the ocean. The whole car went right into the ocean and they drowned. And
Whoa!
a mutual friend of mine said she saw that on her news.
Wow! Yikes!
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I could live with a gift of death premonition because how do you address somebody when you know that they're gonna die?
I kind of keep it to myself and I didn't want to freak them out. I don't think they would believe me or not.
Well, and do you change? You know, do you potentially change somebody's death date that way by going up to them and saying,
Yeah,
"Hey, you know, something potentially bad could happen to you"?
yeah, hopefully they'll hear your message. But yeah. I wish I could see my own death, but I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know. See mine. I haven't seen mine yet, but I can see others.
You know, there's a DJ here in the Twin Cities. At least he used to be on here in the Twin Cities. He's around here somewhere. I see you, Robert. I had a dream that Kirk Cousins will win MVP in the Super Bowl this year. No, you didn't. Kirk Cousins ended up tanking the season. The Vikings ended up 4-12 this year. I know what you're doing.
Oh wow.
So they're trying to get me here, Nikki. They're trying to get me. They're trying
Sorry,
to get me
Tim.
riled up. They're trying to get me riled up. There was a DJ by the name of Tony Fly here in the Twin Cities who used to play a game on the air with Gary, what's his name? He had the big Buffon wig. It was this big. It was white. Gotta egg me on. Yep, I know, Robin. Ben's in the room. Hi, Ben. Ben was our first intern, by the way, on Darkness
Hi,
Radio.
Ben.
Yeah, intern Ben.
Nice.
Ben, what was the name of the guy, the psychic with the Gary Spivey? Thank you, Ben.
Spivey.
Yeah, so Gary Spivey used to play this game with Tony Fly. It was when do you want to hear when you're going to die or how you're going to die? And I used to hate listening to that game on the air. I think he did it back on, it was 101.3, right, Ben? I think it was. It was across the hallway from us. And then they took the game to Dave's show in the morning, not Dave Schrader, but Dave, their morning guy. And that made me cringe. And people would call in. You wouldn't believe how many people, Nikki, would call in and want to hear. Yep,
I
Katie
believe it.
would want to hear when do you want to die or how do you want? And phone lines would blow up, and I would go no, because you're just bringing it on yourself. The minute you manifest that, even if this guy, if he's, pardon my language,
I wouldn't want to know
if he's full of you know what, or he's full of S, or he's actually dead on, you've just manifested that date. Don't you think so?
Oh yeah, law of attraction works both ways. You know, it proved me wrong and right every time.
Yes. Thank you, Greg. Dave Ryan in the morning. So eventually Gary comes on. He starts doing that bit on Dave Ryan in the morning. And yeah, Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Ben is my memory for me having Swiss cheese
Yay.
up here. You know why? It's full of useless crap right up here. I've got a
I
bunch.
hear you. The age, no, never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah. I've got a bunch of useless crap floating around in my head from 30 years of
I hear
nothing.
you.
I could probably tell you what kind of cheese is the least popular in Wisconsin, but I
It's
have
like
no
I
idea.
will walk in the room and like, what do I want to hear? And then when I walk back out in the back end, oh yeah, that's what I want.
I probably have all of Casey Kasem's top 40s memorized for 30 years, but I can't tell you, what the guy across the hall's name was from me.
Right.
But just that manifestation of when or how used to freak me out, but they couldn't tolerate having a paranormal show across the hall from them. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It's just it's kind of funny that way.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't want to know my own death. That would drive me nuts, actually.
Do you think it changes the way you live if you knew?
Possibly. It's, the future is never certain because everything always changes.
When I had my ablation surgery in February, I didn't quite let on to a lot of people how serious my heart stuff was, but it changed the way I lived after I had before and after I had the surgery. After I had the surgery, it changed a lot of the way I lived.
Yeah, it does. I totally understand because I had open heart surgery myself.
Yeah.
When I was younger, so.
Yeah, and it really does. I mean, that's a big step, especially when you're younger to have that.
It is a game changer.
Yeah, it is. It is, and you start to realize just how short time is and how valuable life is, and you really, what. Let's see. Ben says, if I was told I'm gonna die in a plane crash, I think I would avoid flying. Well, yeah, true. I think most people, if they were told they were going to die a certain way, would avoid certain things, for sure.
Like, sometimes I would hear this voice say them right that way, and then one time I even got lost in the woods. I don't know if I told you this, but I got lost in the woods, and I kept hearing these voices tell me to go a certain way, and then after that I was found by an elderly couple, and they turned me in the ranger station, and it's like, and I asked them how long was I going, and they said for about an hour.
Really?
I didn't tell them exactly what I was hearing. When I told them bad thing, you were hearing voices, but so that's how I managed to survive and get out on my own.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. I think after that I realized I could hear spirits possibly.
Yeah. I've had, it's kind of scary to say, well, I heard voices and then I got out, because people will go, oh, I bet you did hear voices, because that's
exactly.
Yeah. But you do hear occasionally when you are in some sort of trauma or panic, you will hear that voice and you wonder if it's an internal voice that you hear, like almost like a guidance system, for lack of a better term, or if it's an outer voice, a guide, some sort of spirit guide, or some
guide,
sort
or
of.
I call in my angels because I can connect with angels.
Yeah,
and I've seen them quite a few.
I wish I would. I've never seen a guide. I've never seen an angel. I've never seen anything like that that's come along and smacked me upside the head and said, "Hey, dumbass, go ahead and do this now," because you it's right in front of you and you're not seeing it for yourself.
I even try to film them over here sometimes.
Yeah,
I notice them.
See, I've been told by. I've had readings the last couple of years from Brian Danhausen, and he's told me multiple times, "Oh no, you have many, many people around you," but none of them ever tap me on the shoulder and say again, "Hey, dumbass," And there's just nobody outwardly contacting me. I wish they would.
Yeah, and they're here for sure. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, I think.
Huh? Can you tell me who's around?
Huh?
Can you tell me who's around? You mean around me or around you? There's people around.
Around me.
Oh, okay. Is all I
Sometimes
have
I can
around me is
tell.
I have a
Yeah.
Timmy lunchbox and a bunch of belts around me, but evidently I don't have anybody around.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. So yeah, but I kind of hoping and wishing there was somebody around me, but I guess not. Anywho,
I am sensing a female around you.
really,
Yeah.
kind of a hit with the ladies, that kind of thing.
I know I'm the same way with the guy. He's guy around all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I have one that actually followed me from my work one time.
Whoa! Wait a minute. Now you're talking a spirit guy following you home from work?
No, an actual ghost. An actual annoying ghost.
Really?
I was trying to work. I worked in a grocery store for many years.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, I just felt like I thought it was a buzz at first because it kept going by my face. And I had bangs back then. They kept playing with my bangs. I was like, okay, I can't do nothing now. I'm at work. So later on, later that evening, I called my friend Kimberly and give her a shout out. She's also a paranormal investigator. And so we did a spirit box session, the SP7.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden, so I go, who's messing my hair today? And we heard a female shout, like, real loud, say, stop it, Frank.
Really?
Yeah. Not only did we get a name, but we got it from his girlfriend at police. We called his jealous girlfriend EVP.
Interesting. Interesting.
We think it's funny now, but back then it's how they freaked me out.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I never had anything like that. I've
had quite a few moments.
I have a lot of spirits, malevolent spirits that swear at me. I get a lot of that. Yeah. And I have a lot of people play back EVP that say, the spirit is really pissed off at you. That's nice. I get sworn at in the afterworld.
It's something if they know your name or they swear it is.
Oh, they know my name. Yeah. I had I've told this before on the show. I had a friend when we came back from Gettysburg who was near the Eisenhower.
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, the Gettysburg.
Yeah.
We were all at the Eisenhower Hotel for phenomenology.
Oh, wow.
And there was a ghost hunt across the parking lot in the house across from the hotel. And there have been a few work crews that have been chased out of that house because it's had some hauntings. They have to swear at you or you ignore them, Tim. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. You're right.
I was wondering about that.
But so these work crews have been chased out quite a few times. They could never finish the renovation of this house across the way. It was meant to be like a private house for someone to rent out when they had overflow from the hotel.
Right.
And so we were allowed to go investigate it because it was such a creepy aura in there. And so we went in to investigate it. There was a group of, I think, maybe 8 to 10 of us, and we split up from top floor to bottom floor. And we're in there, and I was kind of backing away from the group that I was with because I wanted them to get something. I tend to be a paranormal cooler at times. I tend to cool down the room. So I went into the kitchen while they're over in the living room by the fireplace. I don't know why a spirit would be at a fireplace. I don't know. Maybe it's, I have no idea. So I'm in the kitchen and they're doing an EVP session and I'm looking around at the new appliances they put in. And they weren't reviewing their evidence, or they weren't doing 2-minute cycles and reviewing or anything like that. Well, finally, my friend gets home and she calls me up and says, "You have to hear this EVP. Oh my God, it is so scary. It is so freaky." And I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" And she plays it back. And they say, "Do you have a message for anybody that's in this group?" And I hear in this low growl, "Kill that fucking Dennis." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yes.
She goes, "You're happy about that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Why?" And I go, "'Cause I got acknowledged." I'm like, "What are they going to do? I'm gone."
It makes you feel special. They call out your name and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I think it's cool.
And then when we were at the Stanley Hotel, I was only walking by the gosh, Ben, were you at this trip? You might have been. The one where I'm walking by the from the main house, you walk by the manor house, and then you're on your way to the theater there at the end. And as I'm walking on the sidewalk, they're there investigating on the top floor, and they're using an Ovilus, and it kept saying Tim, 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 Tim. That was the first Stanley trip.
Whoa.
You're right, Ben. Yep, you were there. But it kept saying Tim, Tim, Tim
Wow.
as I was walking by. Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. I sort of got it right, Ben. My memory's a little Swiss cheese. That's
Either
why you're
they
here, Ben.
know you or they remember you, right? So,
well, that was the first time we were there, so they couldn't have remembered.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
they obviously know you or something.
Yeah. Well, or they had gotten to know me throughout the weekend. I have no idea, but they recognized me.
Possibly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I get named a lot. I don't think it's a friendly named. I think it's just they don't like me type deal.
Huh.
So,
That's
yeah.
strange.
Ghosts consider me a dick, guys. That's what it is. I'm a dick to ghosts.
I think they like me.
Ben says that was the trip that the elevator ghost came after my group. Oh, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Remember that? Yeah. That wasn't little Lord Fauntleroy in the or whatever his name is. Lord, what's his name? I call him little Lord Fauntleroy. I can't even remember his name. The not Dunraven. That wasn't his name, was it? God, what was his name? I don't know. I'm so horrible when it comes to
something about creepy elevators. I never liked. When I was at Queen Mary, we had to take that elevator. Oh my God, I nearly passed out.
The Queen Mary's an interesting beast in itself.
And it's reopened.
Yeah. Oh, it is reopened now.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm anxious to get there.
Are they allowing investigation?
You know, I'm not sure. I have to call and find out.
Yeah.
I'm just itching to go back there.
They've had a series of owners that have absolutely not wanted anybody on board.
I have quite a few experiences on that ship. I've been there off and on in my life. And my grandparents used to work on that ship.
Really?
Yeah, while it's in operation, I believe it's in a near engine room.
Okay.
So they told me stories about those girls. You know, and I haven't seen her or experienced her, but I know of a group that seen her while I was on tour and told me about it. So I'm like, cool.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, we gosh, Ben, we were doing the Queen Mary trips, what, 3 times a year for quite a few years?
Oh, wow.
07 through, I think, 14. So it's been a few years since we...
Oh, we went all across the ship from mountains. I'm so glad I wore my tennis shoes, man.
Yeah.
A lot of walking.
That is a lot of walking. Yeah, and walking across those floors, yeah, that was a oh yeah. Website says they are doing haunted encounters. Ben says.
I did that tour. Yep.
Yeah. So, but that doesn't sound like full blown ghost hunting over there. That's for sure.
Well, I think you can do solo, ghost hunting there. So I'm gonna try to do that.
Yeah. Well, if they open it back up, that'd be kind of fun. But
yeah.
But I suppose even if they did, I think they're still gonna close down the pool area. That's what I had heard. The last time it was open, I think they weren't allowing people down by the pool or the engine.
I got to go in there once, and I had the creepiest, feeling and goosebumps the entire time.
Yeah.
I didn't want to stay that long.
No, it's not a friendly area. No. But yeah, I like the Queen Mary too. Queen Mary was very good to us. That's for sure.
It has a lot of history, also. History and paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben says pretty sure they don't advertise the solo private stuff if they actually do it anymore. You're probably right, Ben. I don't think they do either. Yeah, that's for sure. That is for sure. You know who?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, who might know is Bob Davis. I'm sure. He probably still has his contacts over there.
They let us wander in the most haunted room that you could stay in. And when I first got in there, I kept having this feeling of energy, and I told the investigators in there, get your devices, and they went off right around me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, I'm trying to think. Most haunted room I've ever been in.
I forget what room that was. But yeah, supposed to be the most haunted room on that ship.
See, I stayed in one room where I did see a red, like a physical red glowing orb flying around
Oh wow.
in the Queen Mary. I've actually stayed in the Stephen King suite at the Stanley, although nothing happened.
I
But I
saw.
had the TV on all night, so.
Oh, going back to Queen Mary, I saw my first shadow person there.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so I told the local ghost hunters team, and they actually caught it. It was in the engine room.
Oh, okay. There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. Stayed in quite a few haunted rooms, but not seen much. Again, they don't like to hang out and sleep with me, I guess. Nikki, there's something about that. I don't know.
Oh, they bothered me throughout the night. It was finally just had to set my batteries. If
Yeah.
I don't, they'll buzz me the entire night.
Oh, that can't be comfortable.
No.
I did hear, although when I was in the Stephen King suite, I did hear kids running up and down the hall the entire night.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did hear that.
And that's on my bucket list. I almost got to go there one time.
Yeah.
Speaking of bucket list, do you have a bucket list?
Do I have a bucket list? I do still have a bucket list. Ben asked me, what about the Palmer House? We'll get to that, Ben, here in a bit.
Oh, I've heard of that.
As far as my bucket list, things I still want to see, yes.
Either near or abroad. Or...
Catacombs in France.
Yeah, no,
there's a lot of things overseas I want to see. I have a lot of things overseas. The Tower of London.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go there.
They have the coolest buildings, you know.
Yeah.
And they're very old, and who knows, what to expect there.
Yeah. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think of the name of the place in San Diego.
Alcatraz.
Well, Alcatraz as well. Yeah,
I've been there.
Alcatraz is one, but there's a
Winchester and the Whaley House.
Yes, the Whaley is one of them. Whaley's one of them.
I got to see it, but I didn't have time to go through it.
I wish Jesse Limekiller would throw out an invite to his winery. That would be fun.
Oh yeah.
Winchester Mystery House. Yes.
Yeah, Winchester. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I went through there.
Did you?
Yeah. I tell you, I would have gotten lost if it wasn't for a tour guide. And she let me take pictures when I usually prohibited,
Yeah.
So I didn't ask,
Yep.
So they let me. So I was like,
well, you got yourself an experience there. That's really cool.
That was dope.
Rose Hall in Jamaica.
Ah.
When I was there the last time, I was able to practically walk up to it, but not go in it. In Montego Bay. My one dream trip, if I could organize it, would be to go to Rose Hall. It would be to do a Jamaican paranormal trip.
Oh wow, never heard of that.
Yeah, and that whole deal. Yeah. So yeah, and to do it in the middle of winter, so we could all get the hell out of Minnesota. That would be. I think that would be my dream destination.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Palmer trip. Okay. I think the one you're talking about, Ben, is the you talking about the time I was on my knee caddy and the shadow person running away from me? Is that the one you're talking about? Because there are a couple different experiences. There's the one, I think Ben was in the basement with us too when the shadow person, or not, it was the elemental, I think, that was playing with us.
Oh wow.
We've had a couple different experiences at the okay, so there's a couple different things that happened at the Palmer House. Palmer House is incredibly active here in Sauk Center.
Oh, that's in Minnesota. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. That's been featured on Ghost Adventures.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's start with the basement because I'm trying to remember if Ben
Oh, I
was.
don't like basements either. Go ahead.
That basement is something else. That basement will scare the you know what out of you. That basement is the deal, Ben? I'm trying to remember. There's some good haunted spots in Oregon, Robert says. Okay, well, hey, just point them out to me, man. I'm out there. Basement was creepy. The only place that Ben ever got scratched was in that basement. Supposedly there was a dead body in that basement, if I remember right.
Wow.
But I don't remember if the bones were exhumed, Ben, or not. That part I don't remember. I'd have to ask Kelly. But the rumor is that the spirit that's down there is an elemental. And that's what I've heard, at least. But whatever it is, it's a very powerful spirit that's down there. And when you go down there, I mean, things rarely, if ever, touch me. I got touched. I did feel like a brushing on the
I
back
hate
of my
that.
neck. Yeah, that spider web type feeling.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Ben says in the closed up well, I don't think they took out the bones. That's right. That's right. Okay.
Oh wow.
So I felt like a little touch. There were like 6 of us standing in a circle down in the basement. We were all just kind of seeing what we could feel. My mom had her purse tugged, like almost out of her arms. She was standing next to me. I think my girlfriend at the time got her hair pulled, and then like I felt like something brushing on the back of my neck, like almost like not even touching my neck. It was almost like it was in my energy field. You know how you have like this little,
like that tickling.
yeah, that tickling, like right down the energy field type deal. And then it was like it went like right down the line, boom, 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 in a circle, and messed with everybody. And then it was like, I don't remember who it was in the circle. It was just kind of like didn't give permission, and then it went away.
Oh wow.
And then, gosh, I'm trying to think here. And then the second incident was, I have this Charcot foot, which is with Charcot foot, your leg bone goes through your ankle and your foot. And I was having an incident where I couldn't put very much weight on the foot because I was casted up. I believe I was casted up for that trip. And I was on a knee caddy. And so I was sitting in the corner of the cafe, and I had people coming in and out, and I was supervising the people who were investigating in the cafe. Well, the cafe was particularly active that night, and especially back in the kitchen. So you'll hear like shadow people playing around with pots and pans. I don't know. Maybe they never got an easy bake oven as a kid. I have no idea why they're playing back in the cafe. But you hear pots and pans banging back there. And I was asking different groups that were coming in and out of the cafe to investigate with me. I would say, well, do you want to go back there and check it out? And of course, I have these people sitting around going, no. What'd you pay all this money to come up here for? Don't you go back there and check it out? No, not really. Oh, okay. All right, we'll just sit here then. I never understand people like being right on the precipice. It's like going to Disneyland and being right there, and Mickey Mouse is 50 feet away. And don't you want to go up and take a picture with him? No.
I did at Disney World.
You did the exact same thing?
No, I actually took a picture with Mickey Mouse and Minnie.
You took a picture with Mickey. Okay. Oh, I thought
you passed that up.
You can't pass it up. If Mickey's right there, go take a picture.
No matter how old I am, I still do it.
Right. Exactly. Well, the I'm good bro makes me laugh every time. That's right, Ben. It makes me laugh too. So you got something playing back in the kitchen. You might as well go play, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the theory. But people were going, no, I'm good. No. So I'm like, I gotta go see what this is. So between groups, Dave yells switch, so everybody switches out, their positions in the Palmer. I'm like, well, God damn it, I'm gonna go back and see what's back there. So I decide I'm gonna get a little playful. So I hop on my knee caddy, and the way the counter sits up. So when you come in the door, say the door is here, and the counter is over this way, and it goes this way, and then the door for the galley is here to go back into the kitchen. So I'm rolling my little ass this way down the lunch counter, and then you have to turn to go into the kitchen. You have to go behind the counter into the kitchen. So as I'm rolling up towards the door, the swinging door to go to the into the galley to go to, or the kitchen to go talk to the whatever's back there, I'm playing with it like it's a little kid, because the entire time we've been asking it to bang on pots and pans, and it would do it on command. So we'd say,
Oh wow.
if you want us to come play with you, bang on the pots and pans twice, and you'd hear dung dung. Okay, so it wants to play. So I'm wheeling back there, and I go, okay, I'm coming back there. If you want me to come back there, bang on the pots twice. And I'd hear bing, bing. All right, I'm coming back. So I'm wheeling back there. I'm like, I'm almost there. Do you want me to come back there? Bang on the pots 3 times. Bing, bing, bing. All right,
Wow.
I'm almost there. I'm turning the corner. Do you want me to come back there? Bang on the pots twice. And I hear bing, like, oh shit, he's almost there. And it was kind of a bing, like, maybe not. Well, just as I'm about to turn the corner, I'm right on the corner of the lunch counter. I'm right here. Door's right here. I'm right here. All of a sudden, I see this shadow person run through the swinging door and go, kind of like stop, and sees me. And then, so I'm here. Shadow person goes, whoa. And then, boom, just bolts it away and goes through the wall of the Palmer house, right?
Huh.
And just as he runs through the back wall of the Palmer house, 2 guys are behind me going, did you see that, dude? Well, yeah, I saw it. I've been, rolling towards it the entire time while you guys were out switching, coming in here. So they go running after it, and they're clicking off flashbulbs. What you're going to click off flashbulbs towards a shadow with and catch, I don't know. You're just washing out a shadow.
It reminds me when I saw a white mist back here one time, and I actually almost ran into it, and we just passed each other. And I saw it on film. I thought that's funny. I'm like, whoa! It startled me, even though.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't know, but I don't get why people show up for the dance and don't want to put on their boogie shoes. I got no idea.
Yeah, that's why I never liked dance. It's boring.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the Palmer house.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to go there someday.
Yeah, if you've never been, if the people who are here listening right now have never been, or watching right now have never been, I encourage you, because it's quite active and quite a neat little deal. Just think the Stanley, but smaller.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a similar layout. It's got similar activity. And it's quite active.
Yeah, hopefully when you travel there one of these days.
Yeah, I'd go in spring, summer, or fall. I wouldn't go in the middle of winter. You'll,
Right.
especially if you're Californian, Nikki, you'll freeze your tuchus off. Yeah.
Oh, we used to live in Lake Tahoe, so we lived in the snow for a while.
Oh, you have no idea, sweetie. You have no idea.
And it's rougher than that, right?
One of the trips we did up there, 26 degrees below zero. That was just the air temp. That was not even the wind chill. So yeah, no, go in summer.
Yeah, take your word on that.
Yeah, go in summer. It's not meant for man or beast in winter.
I know I have a couple more questions off.
Sure, go ahead.
Top of my head before I forget again.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your advice for anyone venturing into this field or broadcasting?
Oh boy, my advice as far as broadcasting in this day and age.
Or share them more with us.
Well, there's a ton of competition. There's more competition now than when I first got into the industry.
Oh yeah, I bet.
So my first bit of advice, put on blinders and don't worry about anybody else. And you've got to develop your own style. Don't try to be anybody else. Be yourself. Be yourself, put on blinders, and work hard. You have to work hard. But find a mentor too that's been in the business for a long time so that you can learn some of the basics. I'll tell you something. There are a lot of, and this isn't slamming anybody, but there's a lot of sloppy broadcasting out there, and there's a lot of sloppy. There's just a lot of sloppy work out there. So
I told you I've had some bloopers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
When we
bloopers
first
happen.
started.
We were talking about bloopers before the show. There's a lot of things that will happen on air, and it happens, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But you've always got to be studying your craft, and you always have to
Right.
be striving to get better. So, you know, for me, I'm always looking at the work of the people that I grew up admiring, and then I look at people that are out there now that I admire, that I look at and I see an interview and I go, man, that's such a great interview, and then I break down what it is they did that I like so much, and then I you know I take it in, I figure out what it is that they did that worked and what they did that I didn't like so much that didn't work. And I try to incorporate what it is that worked maybe into what I do. But never stop learning, always incorporate new things, you know, throw away, don't be afraid to throw away what doesn't work in your game. Because man, I've thrown away a lot too. Over the years, there's a lot I've thrown away, and constantly work at yourself. Never be afraid to change. Change is always important. You have to keep changing because the game moves so fast. Everything moves so fast. Technology moves
That's
fast.
true.
The way the industry changes moves so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, I'll give you an example. There are people in the radio industry that still hate podcasting. There are people in the TV industry that hate podcasting. They hate what we're doing right here, right now. They absolutely hate it. They think that this is going to go away within 2 years. You know, this has never stopped since 2004. This hasn't stopped.
Right.
And in fact, podcasting makes more ad dollars than radio right now. But there are a lot of radio people that will tell you, oh, podcasting will die a quick death. And it hasn't. When we left iHeartRadio,
I hope it don't.
when we left iHeartRadio for podcasting, I was told by the program director at the time, good luck, you won't make any money at it. I never went back to radio full time. That tells you
Wow.
that the ad dollars are not in radio. They just aren't.
Right.
But you have to keep yourself open, available, and keep an open mind as to where the next trend is and where the format is going to be in broadcasting, because it's not always going to be in the traditional medium that you grew up loving. I grew up loving radio, but radio doesn't listen to people, and it doesn't listen to what people want. People don't want broad programming. They want to hear things that are in their interest. They want to be able to pick and choose. And radio doesn't allow you to pick and choose. So it's going to be a dinosaur. That's all there is to it. That's sad because I love the format.
Yeah, there's got to be a passion, right? Because not there, you know.
Yeah. And
I know
the other thing I would tell a broadcaster too, and you're right about the passionate thing, maintain your passion. Even if it means you have to take a step back every once in a while. Maintain your passion, because if you do this half-assed, you're going to fail. If you do it half-assed or you're doing it for any other reason other than the fact that you love it, you're going to fail. It's going to happen every single time.
And there's many, times where I feel like I want to quit because I know I don't have the greatest voice, or
you don't have to. I sound like a 14-year-old boy. It has nothing to do with voice. It has everything to do with delivery. It has everything to do with the passion in your voice and what you're doing. And people can tell whether you're happy on air or whether you are miserable.
Right.
And they know if you're enjoying what you do and if you're engaged in what you do. That's all it takes. You don't have to. There's no such thing as a radio voice anymore. There really isn't.
Right.
It's
like an instrument. I play the piano and I know my song. I play the piano. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
As well as being a podcast.
Exactly. Ben says, don't be upset if you get fired when the station changes management. That just means you're a real broadcaster now. That's right. That's right. In content, presence, and
Yep.
mood. That's exactly right, Ben. Content, presence, and mood. And
True.
you just keep hammering away. You have to be persistent.
And a lot of times, I don't know if we're running out of time, but a
Oh,
lot
we
of
can keep
times,
going.
I either want to go by scripted or just go with the flow. I like to go with the flow.
Well, there's a
now that I do it more, I just do it with the flow.
if you're just starting out, that's a little dangerous. I will tell you this: if you're just starting out, have an outline whenever you sit down. Know where you're going. Otherwise, it becomes dangerous because you trip yourself up. I'll tell you the best thing I ever did was engineer for Ian Punnett for almost 2 years on Coast to Coast AM, because I got to see how he did his interviews. When he would interview an author, he'd sit down with a book, and in that book he would have little Post-it notes flagged in that book in the different chapters, and on each one of those Post-it note flags was a question or just a few little words on each one of those flags. And it was a reminder of what he was going to ask that author. Now, he didn't necessarily go in order because he was going where the conversation took him. But in here, he knew exactly where he was going to go. And then he had sheets. And those sheets would tell him, based on quarter hour, where he was going to try and take that guest. But if that guest had an interesting point, he would side rail or sidebar and take that interesting point and develop it. Because the idea is you're having a conversation. If you and I are sitting here having a conversation and people aren't engaged, well, screw it. They're going to turn it off. They're going to go do something else.
Yeah.
But if we're having a good conversation, they're going to be engaged. They're going to want to listen. So he'll take the author to that interesting place, and then he'll get back on track. And then we'll start talking about what it is we want to talk about.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So there's ways to conduct an interview where you can grab somebody's attention, bring them in, get the information out that you need to get out, sell the book or sell the movie or sell whatever it is you're selling. But then at the same time, make this intriguing for the listener. And that's what it has to be. It has to be, or the viewer, whoever it is that you've got in front of you. If you don't do it, you're not doing anybody a service. You're not doing your audience a service. You're not doing yourself a service. It doesn't make any sense for you to be there.
That's true. Basically, I tend to forget what I wanted to say.
Oh,
what I wanted to say sometimes.
But yeah, have a plan. Every time you sit down to have a guest on the air, you have to have a goal. You're having them on for a reason.
I do have my notes, just in case, I have my notes and stuff here. But yeah. But anyway, we're talking with Tim Dennis. And I hope you all enjoyed our show. Where can everybody find you?
Oh, well, it's awesome. Relatively simple. If you have no idea where to find Darkness Radio whatsoever, if you just go to darknessradioshow.com, everything is linked there. Not only the co-hosts of the program, but myself as well. All our social media sites are on there. And the archives of the program are all there as well. Greg had something on here. It says there's a couple of radio personalities that have YouTube programs now. When got terminated when the station switched to sports betting programming, which to me is like watching paint dry. You want sports betting programming, go read a sheet or go on the internet. Yeah, I'm sorry, Greg. Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, radio it just doesn't get it. It's either it's trying to be a playlist, which I can go get on Spotify, or it's trying to give me generic talk radio, which thank you, Facebook user. I've been listening to Dark Radio for years. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Guys. There's radio hasn't grasped this, in that in the old days of talk radio, almost as exciting as golf commentary. Hey, I'll have you know, Ben, I get good naps to golf commentary. It's wonderful. You just open the windows on a nice spring day, you get golf commentary going, you will sleep like a baby. Although I love playing golf more than I love watching it.
I love golf too. I played it for Special Olympics.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I love playing golf. I just can't listen to Jim Nantz. He bores me to tears. But sorry, Jim Nantz. Not like we'll ever have lunch ever. Now that I say that, he'll probably call me next week. But when it comes to Greg, when it comes to the point of actual radio, they have to homogenize everything, get it down to boil to the biggest demographic, and that's what a programmer's thinking of. And you know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Right. Right.
But in doing that, they've made the biggest mistake. And now the iHeart model is the European model. They're going to try and give you Ryan Seacrest in every damn market in the country. And for a morning show, nobody wants to hear Ryan Seacrest in 200, 300 markets. Ryan Seacrest can't tell me what my weather is going to be this morning. He can't tell me how the Twins did yesterday, although I'm willing to bet they lost. And the fact of the matter is Ryan Seacrest can't tell me anything about what's going on in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And it's a mistake. It's just a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
So there's my little soapbox as far as radio goes and programming. And that's where it's going to fail. Now, where podcasting comes in and where it's a beautiful thing is if you want to find out all that stuff about your local community, you do have a podcast probably in your local community that's keeping you up on all that stuff. There's a podcast for everyone.
Right.
And you're going to find it. And they're going to love your business. They're going to love the fact that you're dedicated. They're going to love you. They're probably going to get to know you by name. And they're going to listen to your email.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every small broadcaster loves their audience. If they're worth their salt and are going to be around for a while, they love their audience. I love my audience.
Yeah, so do I.
So the fact of the matter is, and they'll listen and they'll interact. So, you know what? Bring it on. That's, you know what? Let radio die a horrible death, and we'll continue trudging on. That's the name of the game. So,
right, and thanks to apps these days, we can, load up my favorite podcast on the app. And speaking of apps, we'll be on Audible after the show.
Okay.
We'll be iTunes everywhere. So
there you go.
Yeah,
there you
go. Replay.
And that's the other beauty of podcasting too, is that it's available in multiple formats. So, you as opposed to
YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. And the aforementioned iHeartRadio. Hey, from Manchester, England. Well, howdy in American. And thank you so much, Virgil, for tuning in tonight. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. And we're just about ready to wrap it up. So I thank you so much for your time.
Questions here, Nikki. I'm waiting for the couple of questions. You said you had a couple. Do you have any more? I'm game. You can have me for another few minutes if you want.
Oh, yeah. I think I kind of number one. Has anything ever followed you home?
No, thank God. No. I learned a very long time ago from John Zaffis how to just leave it at the doorstep. And more than just John Zaffis, but a few other well-known people. Father Andy Calder, God bless him, and rest in peace, taught me a lot as well as to how to leave it at different locations.
Yeah, I need to learn to do that.
And they Virgil has a question. Go ahead, Virgil.
Sure. Yeah, real quickly. We still have time.
Yep, you got time, Virgil. Type it in there. The fact of the matter is that it doesn't take much to leave things where they are in a location. You don't have to leave yourself wide open at a location, and you shouldn't leave yourself wide open at a location. Yeah, right. And Nancy says, set your boundaries before leaving a location. You're absolutely right, Nancy. You don't ever let something get the best of you. And you never should. You should never go into a location wide open and wanting to become that close to a spirit or an entity. So no, nothing's ever followed me. No. Well, thanks. The fact of the matter is I already have that. So why do shadows run from Tim? I could answer that one off air for you, but I'll give you.
Hey, Thomas, she was on her show.
Oh no! It's because there's a involved answer and there is a short answer. I'll give you the short answer. I can tell CL off the air what the involved answer is. Nancy says always ground down before investigating. Absolutely. Let me give you the short answer here, CL, as to why shadows run from me. And I'm trying to think of how I'm going to say this. Okay. A story from the Stanley. I'm down in the tunnel in the Stanley. You know, if you've ever seen the episode of the Ghost Hunters, where I believe it was Grant, maybe Jason, that was down in the tunnel. They have the galley down there, the tunnel. Do you have a time limit? I'm sorry, do I have to be up?
Oh, this is my cousin. We share a room. Oh, tell we run it over.
I won't interrupt you then. And what I see Virgil's questions up there, so after I tell this, I'll hit his question here.
Mhm.
So it's because he wakes up in the middle of a medical procedure. Yes, that's why, Greg. It's because I wake up in the middle of medical procedures. You can't keep a good man down. But actually, I have this up. There you go.
Hey, yeah, I don't have my cell phone.
Did you hear the rim shot? Yeah, this. There you go. Yes, I have my full studio up and running.
Awesome.
So, in the tunnel at the Stanley, I'm sitting with a demonologist that I'll name later, and we're sitting there, and he says there are spirits in the galley. There's always been spirits in the galley that used to work there. And he says they are there, but they're being respectful. Because I said, well, why aren't they coming out? Why aren't we communicating with them? And he says, I don't communicate with spirits. I acknowledge them, but I don't talk to them. And he's a Catholic, very Catholic demonologist. Adam Bly. Okay. So if anybody's ever worked with Adam Bly, talk to Adam Bly, you'll understand. He will, he'll acknowledge them, but he doesn't communicate with them. And I said, well, interesting. I said, well, what are they doing in there, in the galley? Why are they hanging back? What are they doing in there? He said, well, some of them are just kind of hanging back respectfully. Some of them are curious and they're watching, and the others are kneeling and they're genuflecting. So kneeling and genuflecting. Why are they kneeling and genuflecting? He goes, I don't know. That's weird. It's okay. I said, well, you're a holy guy. He goes, yeah. I said, maybe they're doing that to you. He goes, oh, yeah, I don't know. They're kneeling and genuflecting. They're being very respectful. I said, okay.
Wow.
And I said, well, Adam, I have this issue. I said, especially with shadow people. These shadow people will run from me. Like, especially when I cast my gaze on them, they run from me. And I want to know what this is. And he kind of puts his head down. We're sitting side by side and we're looking out into the tunnel and it's very dark. We're sitting there side by side and he kind of closes his eyes and he meditates on it. He thinks about it. Actually, more prays upon it than meditates. And he thinks and he looks up and he says, you know what, Tim? Sometimes God just protects his own. And that was it. That's the short answer.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us.
I
was going to say, it should be also your aura.
That's another good way of putting it, too. Some people have stronger protections and auras. That's the other part of the short answer. Virgil, my main area of interest is astrophysics. What has always fascinated me is the block universe theory that all reality, including the future, exists now. Ooh, yeah, kind of like destiny. Your death has already happened. Your time car hasn't got you here yet. Ooh, okay. Make sense of this by thinking of the universe in thought experiment of time as a road with a beginning and an end, and time as a car. You drive through it, but with no reverse gear. Okay. The faster you go, the less you age because of time dilation, and you hit the markers quicker. Anyway, the question is, can we be visited by ghosts from the future? I
think it's possible.
Yeah. I would just add block universe theory is supported by the Einstein theory of special relativity as opposed to presentism. Any thoughts, guys? I do have thoughts here. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate with Virgil for real quick here.
Sure.
If we're visited by ghosts from the future, what do these ghosts look like? Or do we not see them? Okay, are these the invisible, the ones that are pulling at us or scratching at us? Are we misinterpreting these? Are these the so-called demons that we're misinterpreting action? What are these things that you're interpreting as ghosts from the future? Because we see apparitions that we know are from our past. Are you saying that aliens are ghosts from our future? I guess I don't know, Virgil. What are, and go ahead and type it in real quick if you, I don't know, if you have an idea of what these ghosts from the future are. I get what you're saying as far as block theory goes, and it's a good theory. I got what you're saying, and I'm picking up what you're putting down. But what is the ghost from the future? Nikki, what do you think?
My thought was that I've heard people say they could be a replication of us in the future.
Right. Well, like blonde aliens. Well, ghosts from the past aren't here. What do you mean ghosts from the past aren't here? Because I'll tell you, I've been to Tombstone, Arizona, and I've encountered ghosts of the past from there. In the ghosts at the Stanley, ghost of the past from there. I mean, those are ghosts that for all intents and purposes are ghosts from anywhere in the 1800s to now. But what ghosts are we talking about? Ghosts from the future? Are you talking ghosts from the year 2200 to 2400, 2500? I don't know what ghosts from the future you're talking about.
Maybe I was thinking like time travel.
No. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about ghosts of the future. Unless I'm misunderstanding. Am I misunderstanding here, Virgil? You tell me. Maybe I'm thinking too linear.
The ghosts from the past are there.
Let me go back and see what. Let me go back and read what he's saying here. The question is, can we be visited by ghosts from the future? The only thing, I wouldn't call them ghosts from the future. Yes, it's a timeline.
Yes, timeline.
I wouldn't call them ghosts if they're sorry, I have a really bad elbow right now.
No worries.
So I'm not threatening to punch Virgil out. I'm just moving my elbow because I've got real bad arthritis.
Yeah, badly.
The only, I don't know that you call it a ghost. Okay, so CL says you can send your own souls ahead. And Virgil says, no, you have it. Okay. I don't know. That's a good question. Time traveling ghost.
Time.
I don't know what it would look like. That's the thing. If an apparition shows up, Virgil, from, let's say, the year 2500, how would you know that it was from the future if it's not dressed like us? I don't know. It'd be hard to tell. I've never seen one. I'd love to know if someone's seen one. You know what? I'm going to bring this question up.
I haven't seen one either.
Let's bring this question up to Bruiser on Supernatural News next Wednesday.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in time travelers and glitch in the Matrix. That thing.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that as well.
That's a very good question. I'm not poo-pooing it either way. It could happen, sure.
Thank you for the question.
Scientifically proven.
It makes you think, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just not knowing what it would look like. Or
I think it could be like shadow people. I think could be like.
So the ghost could theoretically visit its past self. No, I get what you're saying, Amanda. Definitely, it could visit itself. But the question is, at that point, if does the ghost appear to itself like its past self so you don't scare yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm
Right.
going back in time to visit my past self as a ghost, I'm not going to want to cause myself any more trauma than I have to. So
Right.
I'm wanting to appear. If you see a ghost from the past, it's traveled in time. Well, not necessarily, Virgil. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. If I'm seeing a ghost from 1800, from the 1800s, but there is such a thing as an active haunting and an energetic haunting, or one that's been implanted in the land. So it's hard to implant a haunting in the land or have an energetic scar in the land if it's from the future.
There's the word I was looking. Quantum leap.
Okay, a paranormal quantum
Yeah.
leap of sorts. I get what you're saying there. Yeah, I get what Amanda's saying.
Mhm.
But there's a bit of a difference, Virgil, in that energetic scar in the land. Take, for example, Gettysburg is a perfect example. You have a war that is such a physical and energetic scar on the land, such as a civil war, that leaves an imprint. So you can continue to play that tape over and over and over again for years and years to come. That energetic scar may be there for 50 to 100 more years or more.
Right.
You can't go back from, let's say there's a horrible war in 2500. We're not playing that back here. And I know the story that Nancy's talking about. I've heard Jim tell that story, the story of a little boy who saw an adult, and you fast forward and that teenager was actually the little boy. I've heard
that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that story you're talking about, Nancy. I get, yes. And that I get that. Yeah. But that to me suggests that it may not necessarily be a ghost. It's just, it's a time traveler, not a ghost. And to me, that's a solid form running into, that's a time travel story. That's not a ghost. You see what I'm saying? There's a fine line here. You can have time slips, and then you have ghosts. Ghosts are deceased members that have left us. Time slips are active, moving between dimensions or moving between timelines.
Right.
And I think the story Jim tells is a story of slipping between times, actual timelines. And I think that I think that's what we're getting here. I'm not sure. You know, what does Amanda say here? Basically, there has to be an origin to the existence. No one cannot travel or visit if it has never existed. Well, no, I get that. Yeah, I get that, Amanda.
I think they're trying to boot me off. So, but
okay.
This would be a good topic for entirely another show if you want to come back with us. You're more than welcome to.
Sure, we could do that sometime. Sure.
Yeah, I thank you guys so much for listening, and you know, I can't stress this enough for being with us, Tim. I know you're busy, and like still here.
Yeah. So darknessradioshow.com. Check it out. We're available on all formats, all different podcast apps. But and by the way, if you have Apple devices, you can download the Darkness Radio app. The current Darkness Radio Google app is not currently active, but we're looking at designing a new one that should be out in a few months here. So there you go.
Awesome. So you have a great night, Tim, and thank you guys for listening to my Paranormal Corner. And I'm your host, Nikki Ray. And I'll be back next week with another great guest, paranormal investigator, Natalie Frater, I believe. So so be sure to tune in for next week's show. Stay safe out there, you guys. And thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.